Hello, the internet. Happy Friday. Friends, can you even believe that we made it this far and we made it this far together? Happy Friday to each and every person here. I am Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer and host here in the Popverse, and welcome to Enter the Popverse, which is our weekly roundup and chat show about all things geeky and everything excited that has gone on in the past 7 days. If you don't know, the Popverse is, of course, a virtual realm created by ReadPop, where we are celebrating just the very best in TV, movies, and comics each and every single ding-dang day that we are here living, breathing, and geeking out here in the Popverse. If you want to see more about what we get up to, if you want any more details about the stories that we're talking about today, you can always go to thepopverse.com, where we have everything from videos to written articles to convention panels to photos and so much more. And while you're over there, why not consider getting yourself a Popverse membership? It's really fancy, it's really neat. I have one, you're gonna want one, and it gets you access to everything that we're doing, including some exclusive offers and exclusive content that are not available anywhere else in the world. Good morning and top of the morning to you, Jake Hefner. All is well here in the Popverse. I hope everything is well with you. I hope everybody who's been experiencing this cold snap is doing particularly well. I have to say, being based in Southern California myself, I very sadly can't relate. It's 29 degrees Celsius here, and I'm about to pass away. No, I won't learn Fahrenheit. You'll never convince me. All right, friends, I know you came because we've literally been teasing this for weeks, and New York Comic Con sure did come and level both me and my guests to the ground. But we're here today with someone I think is a ding-dang genius, and I say that every single time we get to talk. Someone I really look up to. I think one of the smartest and most important voices in the comic book industry right now. So please, why don't you? Let's start strong. Put your hands together in the traditional Enter the Popverse Theater Kid round of applause, and join me in welcoming the founder of Illuminous, a comic book writer, editor, and thought leader, the creative talent behind Judge Kim and the Kids Court series. He's touched every single character that every fan has loved for literal decades. Join me in welcoming Joseph P. Illidge to the show. Hi, Joe.
Hey, good afternoon, Ashley. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Oh, I'm so ready for it to be Friday. How about yourself?
Yeah, seriously. I'm ready for it to be next Friday, actually.
Oh.
I'm already done with this week entirely, and I want to go to next week.
I feel like you're just waiting for Thanksgiving to roll around at this point.
That's part of it. Also, I'm mildly curious about the Marvels. Also,
Go on.
there's a number of things I want to see, and I'd like them to be here right now.
That is a true comic book nerd energy where you're like, why can I not have it right now?
Exactly. When I need it, when I want it.
Yeah, exactly. You take that energy, go to Twitter, and you'll be right on. I want to ask a selfish question to start us off today.
Sure.
You're now a member of Team Popverse, as well as me and Graeme and Chris and a bunch of people that everybody watching has seen here week after week after week. How did you come to hang out with us ruffians in the Popverse?
Wow. Well, I mean, first off, you're not ruffians. The Popverse is really setting a standard. I knew when Graeme McMillan came over and I saw some of his long pieces and series of long pieces, and just how diverse the group was and the different types of stories you were telling, it occurred to me that this column, how deep I wanted to go, the fact that I would go into some dangerous places, is something that I thought would be a good fit. So, I reached out to Chris and I asked a natural question that you asked, which is, this is my idea. Is this something you think is a good fit for you? Right? And we talked about it and kind of like our opinions, really aligned on it. And then we figured out what a schedule would be. We figured out what the outline of subjects would be. So it's presently a 6-column series. We're now at the halfway point. And then based on how that ends and how people respond to it, maybe there'll be more. But right now it's a mini series.
I love that. I also really appreciated that as you were giving the explanation on how this came into being, you talked about, would this be a good fit? Like, you have such knowledge on how people pitch and how projects come into being, and the grace with which you approach this, I think, is something that a lot of creatives, particularly people who want to pitch comic books, could use a gentle reminder
Well,
of.
thank you very much. It's something that I learned over time. And it's important to ask the question, because if the answer is no, then it's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
But I was really appreciative and thankful that he said yes. Let's see how we could make this work. And I'm really happy with how it's turned out so far and how people have responded to it, how it's connected to a lot of creators.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important because it's activating the larger conversations. And we need to have that right now. We're at a very critical point, not only in comic books, but in entertainment in general, in the world in general, where ideas of wages and personal health and mental health are of critical importance, where you're seeing more activity with unions, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in the last 12 months than we've probably seen in any 12 months in the history of this country. And so there is something in the zeitgeist now, the ending of the writer's strike, what we hope is the imminent end of the Screen Actors Guild strike. And so it seemed like this was the time to have this conversation.
So before we get a little bit deeper into that conversation, we called this the state of the comic book industry, which is no small feat to
Seriously,
try and tackle
seriously.
in a short little chat. But
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be casual, nice, light Friday chat.
Yeah.
But you've had a bunch of exciting things announced this year, including a graphic novel? What?
Yes, yes.
About Harriet Tubman, which is also not the lightest fare that we've ever had in the world, but congratulations on the
Thank
adaptation.
you so much. Thank you. Yeah, really excited about that. Really thankful to HarperCollins for
Little indie, small-time publisher
yeah,
people
little
might have
small-time
heard
publisher
of.
that might be one of the top 5 publishers of trade books on planet Earth.
For
and
sure.
Getting to write for Harper Alley is an honor because I've loved a number of the graphic novels that Harper Alley has put out. Swim Team by Johnny Christmas, Messy Roots by Laura Gao, just a number of books that I've read by them. And so that Harriet Tubman will be in the company of those books with that imprint is really amazing. And I'm really honored. So I've already begun work on the script, and I've done that because I'm now reading the book. So the YA graphic novel, well, middle grade graphic novel, is going to be an adaptation of a book called Harriet Tubman, Conductor of the Underground Railroad, which was written by Ann Petrie, right? And so what I've learned reading the book so far is that her prose is really evocative and very intentional, and she knows how to pull you in with immediacy, not with a harshness, but with an immediacy. And so I want the tone of my narrative to pay tribute to the tone of her narrative.
Does that add even more pressure? So not only are you tackling obviously incredibly important historical figure, incredibly important subject matter, but now there's a standard of writing that you also have to raise to. Does that make you more nervous, or is that more freeing?
Well, I think it's freeing in the sense that I have clarity on that. I think nervousness comes when you don't know what the direction is, when you don't know what the goal is. But having established that goal for myself from a writing perspective, and also a major significant thing is the illustrator, my collaborator, Marcus Kwame Anderson, it's being able to do the script in a way that gives him freedom to really bring the best of himself to the story. And so I'm really going to enjoy when we get to that stage. So right now, I feel it's very freeing, and I'm really looking to do the first draft. But first, I'm going to do an entire read of the book.
Yeah.
and then I will go back and do it. But I want to have the understanding of the book from the whole 360 viewpoint.
I think that's I really appreciate that you're living in the material and you're not just like rushing. Is like the collaborative stage is the most fun part, where you're like, what if this, what if this, what if this, what if this, and
Yeah.
you're just living in it, so that by the time you get to that with all of your team members, because comics don't happen in a bubble, you're going to be so equipped to do it at the highest level possible.
Yeah, and you have to immerse yourself in the material. And so giving myself the opportunity to do that at a reasonable pace is an exciting part of the process.
Does it How has this project been different than some of your other comics work? Because you have a really great feature that we're going to talk about like independent creators and working with publishers, but what has been different about the HarperCollins and maybe the adaptation of it all?
So when I've done previous writing, being a co-author on the Judge Kim and the Kids Court series of children's graphic novels for Simon & Schuster, being the head writer on MPLS Sound for Humanoids, that was either something that we as the creators came up with, or it was historical fiction. So in the case of MPLS Sound, even though it dealt with Prince, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Morris Day, and a lot of the people from the Minneapolis sound movement, it was still a story that was fiction, and we had to make the fiction fit in between the reality parts. Whereas this is an adaptation of actual history, right? So the book is my beacon for how I am going to approach the narrative. So that's the big difference, I would say.
Ugh, I can't wait until the project is further along down the road and then the book comes out and we can talk about it again. I feel like we're getting to chat with you at such a fun stage at the beginning of the book.
Yeah. It's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to having the first draft done, because once you have the first draft done, you can evolve on that.
Yeah.
But the first draft is always the hardest.
Jake Hefner, we know, a great resident of Minnesota, saying, not me adding MPLS Sound to my reading list.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Jake. I'm confident that you're going to enjoy it. Myself, Hannibal, Taboo, Meredith Laxton, Tan Chu, Troy Pateri, we really put our all into it and really tried to make it feel like a musical as a graphic novel, the same way Purple Rain was a musical as a film. We try to make MPLS Sound feel like that, instead of it being too heady or too heavy. You know what I mean?
Also, because I know Jake is a listener of my podcast, Geek History Lesson, he should know by this point that if your name is on something, it comes with only the heartiest of recommendations from me personally.
All right. Well, that's very kind. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's talk some comics journalism. Let's talk some of your Popverse pieces. I want to start with the double-edged sword of creator-owned comics with comics publishers.
Oh, yes.
Because I make this joke about, are you even writing comics if you haven't sued your publisher? And you've really dissected a lot of the trials and tribulations about this particular undertaking. So why were you so passionate about tackling this topic for us?
Because creator-owned comic book stories, intellectual properties, are basically at a high point right now in terms of how many of them are out there, whether it's in the direct market or in the trade book market through graphic novels. And one of the motivations behind them, in addition to having control of your idea or partial control of your idea, is this idea that you will get a Hollywood deal. You will get to see your thing on a small screen or a big screen. And number one, the chances of that are slim.
Yeah.
And you could have something that goes all the way in development, and then the facilitating company decides they're not going to put it out. Like what unfortunately happened with Matt Wagner's Grendel at Netflix. Yeah. What happened with the Batgirl film at Warner Brothers Discovery. There are things that get made and then they get axed. I can't imagine what that does to a creator spiritually. To have a DVD of all the episodes that the world will never see, I can't imagine it. And so on top of that, what you have to add is the predators in the comic book industry. And unfortunately, we have different flavors of predators. But this one in particular are the ones that take advantage of creators' aspirations use it to pay them badly, to give them contractual deals, which are less than ideal, all to hang this golden carrot of, but one day it'll be a movie.
Yep.
Right? So let us exploit you now for this intangible reward later. And so with every year, there are new people graduating out of art colleges and they want to get into comics. So for me, the column was a warning, not only to the people in the industry, but to the people coming into the industry.
So if you could TLDR, because everyone's going to copy this link down in the comments and they're going to read it after, do you have like one piece of advice or one takeaway that you want everybody who's listening or who's watching right now to know about creating comics as an indie creator?
Yeah, I would say familiarize yourself with the psychology of a narcissist. As soon, I'm serious.
No, I know.
As soon as you get a whiff of narcissism from someone trying to offer you an amazing deal, run in the other direction and finally have a lawyer.
That one. Have a lawyer. I will co-sign that with all of my absolute heart and soul.
Yep.
Because you're gonna think it's too expensive, but it's so worth it. Okay. We
100%.
can talk about this.
You can pay now, or you can lose a lot more later.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do the big talk. Joe, what's going on with comics right now?
Wow. So there were a number of things that happened in a period of time that led to me writing this, right? The amount of creators that are in dire straits and that need crowdfunding campaigns for the village, the community, to help their families pay their bills.
Yep.
What happened with Comics Broke Me on Twitter. Everything was coming together. But the one thing that I don't think anyone was really discussing is our masochistic relationship with the comic book industry. And what I mean by that is we willingly operate in an environment that we know will cause us pain. And we've decided that what we get out of working in comics is worth the suffering, right? And that is masochism. You will endure one pain so that you can avoid what you consider a higher pain. And that mentality must end. We must not consign ourselves to suffering to do something that we love. What we have to do is we have to redefine ourselves as business people, because since the beginning of time, creators have been told, you're not entrepreneurs, you are labor. You are a hammer. You are a wrench. You're a tool in a belt for a company to use to its fondest desire. But every creator is an independent business. And if we start thinking about it that way, then we figure out better ways to negotiate the relationship so that both the client gets what the client wants and we get what we want, right? And so that's where we need to get to. We need to acknowledge our culpability into accepting and engaging a masochistic relationship. And we have to aspire to get to a dynamic which is mutually beneficial as opposed to singularly harmful.
Do you think some of that comes from the fact that people who are coming out of art school, or like myself coming out of theater school, there's no business classes that were taught and nobody is telling you, like, you're the first person I've ever heard say, like, you're a business, you should maybe take a basic business class.
100%. I can tell you a quick anecdote. When I was a student at the School of Visual Arts in New York City, in my second year, I had a teacher named Sal Catalano, and he started talking about business. And this is year 2. And the reason he did that is because he said a few years ago, he got in a cab and the driver was one of his former students. And that's when he understood that these artistic institutions, whether you're talking about art school, whether you're talking about acting school, they teach you about the art, but then you go out into the world and the world ravages you because you have no understanding of how the business works. right? And more people need to know that up front so that their eyes not totally open, because that will happen over time and experience, but at least their eyes are open a little wider to what they can expect.
All I want is for you to found Creators University.
Hey,
Just whip us all into shape.
You know,
like, this is how you do
it. Nothing is impossible, Ashley. It's comics. That could happen.
That's true. And that's kind of what's beautiful about comics. Like I know there are creators who are working towards like a standard script format, but you can kind of do whatever you want, which is what's beautiful, but maybe also the nightmare part about comics.
Yep. It's true.
I know we've been a little bit dire, and I thank everybody in the comments, like Nerve Tonic 1, shout out to you for keeping all of Joe's most important piece of advice going. But if somebody has been listening and they've read the features and they're looking for a little bit of hope, what do you think is good about the comics industry right now? What's a positive takeaway that we could have?
Number one, that there are no barriers to getting your story to the public. Before, if you couldn't get a publisher, then you couldn't get it out. If you self-published, but you couldn't get a printer or distribution, you couldn't get it out. Now you have web comics. You have, the thing about creators is they find a way. So I remember going to FlameCon a few years ago here in New York and seeing all these creators' booths and how they've set themselves up as these micro entrepreneurs and this direct relationship with the public. So there are no barriers to getting your stories to the audience you want to get them to. Number two, I've never known a time in comics to have a greater variety and selection of stories than what we have right now. So those two things are really great. And that's part of what keeps me going back to my, local comic book shops and keeps me interested in what's coming out, because there are still gems out there, but you just have to find them. And sometimes your retailers can help you find things that align with your interests because they know you that way.
Yeah, if you have a great LCS, they can do that for you, and that's why they're so special. Jake Hefner says, this is a masterclass in a Popverse episode. Goodness gracious. I told you, Joe's a genius. You gotta listen to him. He will break your brain. Like, if you go back and look at our Entropy interview from, I'm just like, like every 5 minutes of that episode. I have kept you, I think, twice as long as I promised, but I want to ask you one final question, Joseph P. Illidge, my beloved, before I let you go back into the Popverse and into your weekend and all the way to next weekend.
All right.
What are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on?
Wow. I'm geeking out about the new Wonder Woman series by Tom King, Daniel Sampere, Tomu More, and Clayton Coles. I'm geeking out about The Madness, which is written by J. Michael Straczynski and illustrated by Aiko over at AWA. There's a variety of things that I'm late to the game on because I'm busy working.
In comics, never.
So while I had COVID, I finally watched all of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. And I got to tell you, that's how you do it. And that's how you write a final episode of a series. That last episode, that was brilliant. So I really got supercharged about that. I'm looking forward to Section 31, which will finally happen because Michelle Yeoh got an Oscar and Paramount woke up and they were like, let's seal this deal. So one day that will come out and I'm looking forward to that. That's really about it. And other than that, I love discovering new things. And so I have stacks of comics and books that I need to read, and I'm looking forward to diving into all of them.
Ooh, that's your TikTok, is you just showing what you're excited to dive into.
Seriously, I think I got to do that. I'll hold up some Zoe Thorogood. I'll hold up some Immortal Thor.
Yes, Zoe Thorogood. Oh my God, that just made me so happy.
And I'm actually also reading Kate Beaton's Ducks, which is just an amazing piece of work.
Oh yeah, if people want to know anything about autobio or semi-autobio comics, that's a great one.
100%. And other than that, I'm writing a few different things that will be announced. I think there's one more announcement coming this year. and then maybe 2 or 3 coming next year. So those things are geeking me out too.
That's exciting. I know we'll have you back in some way, shape, or form in some video to talk about that. But Joseph P. Illidge, before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find you online, and then I will banish you back into the Popverse.
All right, understood. So you can still find me on Twitter, /X.
Yeah, we're holding
at
on.
Joseph P. Illidge. On Facebook, I'm Joe Illidge. On Instagram, I'm Illmaster1. And I am on Blue Sky, I think is Joseph Illidge. I have this TikTok that I'm just priming up to do something proper with, because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And on LinkedIn, I'm Joseph Philip Illidge.
Yay! Thank you so much for joining us in the Popverse. You know I adore you and I love chatting with you. And thank you for breaking all of our brains open.
Well, likewise, it's great to be here. And I have a back half of a column series to finish. So I better hop to it.
I get to it. All right, Joe, we will talk to you very, very soon. Have a great weekend.
Okay, dude. Bye.
We wait for so long. Friends, the problem with having Joseph P. Illidge himself on your show is you'll never be as smart or as interesting as him. But what a blessing that we all get to share in his genius together. Now, please join me in one more traditional theater kid round of applause to welcome the man that Joseph B. Illidge said made him want to come and join us here in the Popverse, Mr. Graeme McMillan. How are you even dealing with the praise?
I was not. That made me very uncomfortable.
I was the only person who could see you. I thought about being really rude and popping you into the interview.
I was convinced you were going to, and then I was so glad you didn't.
It
Also,
felt like a mean-spirited thing to do.
I should tell you and the viewers right now, you may or may not have noticed, I have dropped out on Wi-Fi twice during your conversation with Joe. So if I disappear, blame Scottish Wi-Fi.
Okay,
I'm
let's start.
Right,
where in the world is Graeme McMillan right now?
I'm in Scotland. I'm in my homeland. I'm actually in the town next to where I grew up, so I really am in my homeland.
What time is it where you are?
It's 5:30 at night.
There you go. It is 10:30 in the morning where I am, which is yours.
We also had we had a time change on Sunday, which we didn't expect.
And we do ours this coming Sunday, so it's gonna.
It was very confusing waking up and finding out that I was actually not 8 hours apart from where I normally are. I was 7. That was genuinely confusing. Also, I was at MCM at the time, and things were set for American time, even though they should have been set for British time. That was a fun thing to work out as well.
We love time zones. Graeme, what in the heck have you been up to over in the UK? Because you've not flown back because you've been very busy 2000 ADing about, perhaps?
I have been in 2000 AD. Before I did that, before I left London, I did the fantasy exhibit at the British Library. And I will be writing something about this up.
I'm so jealous.
I was going to say, have you heard about this? Have
Yes.
you seen this exhibit? It's amazing. It's genuinely astonishing. I'm going to be writing about this for the site because I was blown away by it. Oh, yeah, no, the things they have there. For people who don't know, it's literally an exhibit that is taking a holistic view of fantasy as a genre, as everything. So you have everything from Tolkien's handwritten notes for the Lord of the Rings radio play.
Yep.
You have Tove Jansson's illustrations for The Hobbit.
I know.
Are in there.
I want to
a first edition Mary Shelley Frankenstein. But also like LARP cosplay costumes. And there's one bit where you literally have the Tove Jansson Hobbit next to Dragon Ball.
Ooh, I love that.
Right? No, because they very much take this holistic view of like all of this comes from the same place. And here are the thematic connections. Like what connects Warhammer and David Lynch's Twin Peaks. And they address that. It's this wonderful thing. There is, for people who know Twin Peaks, there's a recreation of the Black Lodge in the exhibit. You can look into, which is wonderful and disorienting. It was amazing. I did that on Monday, and I think my mind is still blown from it. To be perfectly honest, it was just amazing. I keep saying that word. Yesterday, I was at 2000 AD offices.
How was that?
It was great. Yeah, I grew up with 2000 AD. I am very much a fan of Tharg the Mighty and the Galaxy's Greatest Comic, and being there was really something special. It was a joy, and I didn't just get to see what they're currently working on. And again, this is, you and I are very deep nerds. I got to see color correction on the upcoming edition of Slain the Horned God.
Ooh, that's cool though.
Right? Exactly. So you and I both were like, but yeah, you get to see the color correction, which is amazing. I feel like you get to see the restoration work. I also got to see the Rebellion Vault, which is...
I'm jealous of that too. Very
it's
jealous.
130 years worth of comics.
Yeah.
It goes all the way back to comic cuts from like 1890. And they have editions of everything. It was, again, mind-blowing. It was just such a special thing to see. I did, again, it sounds like a boast, I did the DC Vault a few years ago.
Yeah, I've done
DC
that.
Comics Vault is also just this mind-bending thing where you're like, oh, look, it's Action Comics #1. That's completely normal. I'm in the same space as that.
They also do the fun thing where they're like, DC and the Vault, they're like, well, who's your favorite character? And then they'll just show you all of the important key issues of like when Robin showed up, if you're me.
Right? No, exactly. And so this was the same thing, but for the entire British comics industry. You know,
I don't know how you didn't just turn into like Lupin and just took all of it with you on your way out.
The number of things, upon discovering that they have not only a complete run of 2000 AD, obviously, but they have the complete run of the film that was used to publish 2000 AD.
Okay.
Right? I was like, yeah, no, that I want all of this. Can you just take some of it away? You know, here's some Alan Davis art from trading cards that he did for 2000 AD in the 1990s.
I love
Painted
trading
Alan
card
Davis,
art. It's
painted
so
Alan
cool.
Davis art, though.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was just this astonishing sort of history, but history brought to life. And again, I'm going to be writing about this for the site. They have really exciting plans about what they want to do with this treasure trove. They don't just want to keep it to themselves, which is a really exciting thing.
Very interesting. Okay, you are also staying in the UK for like personal reasons, but Popverse reasons too. And one of the Popverse reasons is, I'm not going to have personal
I'm
reasons.
seeing my family.
Yeah. But one of the Popverse reasons is you're going to yet another convention very soon.
I thought doing three conventions in 5 weeks seemed like a great idea.
Yeah. But you're going to Thought Bubble.
I'm going to Thought Bubble, which is a convention I've wanted to go to for years. For people who don't know, Thought Bubble is a convention it's a 2-day convention, but it's actually a 7-day festival in Harrogate, in Yorkshire. And, you know, the creative lineup this year is just out of this world. You have Zoe Thorogood's there.
Yes, I love her.
Eddie Stevenson's there. Molly Knox Oxertag is there. But John Wagner's there. Mick McMahon's there. So you've got like, you know, the early 2000 AD people. Jason Aaron's there from the States. Jeff Lemire's there. It's just, you know, Rachel Stott's there. Becky Cloonan's there. Michael Conrad's there. The lineup is just such an astonishing lineup of who is doing really great work in comics right now, and it's very much a comic show.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, there are other shows that are comics and video games, comics and movies and TV, and Thought Bubble is a comic show. So when they say we have 450 creators in Arts Alley, that's 450 comic artists.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're just like, oh yeah, this is the thing. It's also a different show because they have how to make comics for kids, like throughout the show. It's not just, you know, on Sunday, it's Kids Day, and we'll have this panel. No, they do it throughout the entire show.
Right, or it's not like you're going to have one panel that's called Breaking into Comics, and everyone just kind of tells a story about how they fell into comics, and there's not as much actionable advice as maybe newcomers might be hoping for.
Well, talking about 2000 AD, 2000 AD is running 2 panels where I think Saturday is writers and Sunday is artists. And basically you live pitch at the panel, and you can get work from 2000 AD because of that panel.
Yeah.
It's an open submission thing, which is just great. Yeah, I'm really, really excited for Thought Bubble. It's a show I've wanted to go to for a long time.
And you've never been?
I've never been.
That is very exciting. So any UK or like European folks who might be heading to Thought Bubble or thinking about it, when you see Graeme, take a picture of him, tag me in it, because Graeme doesn't want you to tag him. Say hello to him, because I don't think the next show for Team Popverse is until Tiffany and I head to Los Angeles Comic-Con in December. So Graeme is your next chance to catch someone
It's
in
true.
Team Popverse out in the wild.
I'm the live one. I'm the live one.
You are.
In the
You
wild
are.
for now.
Graeme, I know it's very late where you are, so we're going to release you back into the Popverse, but just so that everybody knows, and because I'm going to talk about this in a minute, friends, this is going to be the last time you can ever do this. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at Graeme M. See, I did it straight for once. I did it properly. Didn't tell people no.
I'm so proud
I'm
of
also
you.
on Blue Sky and the same name as well.
There you go. Okay, Graeme, go do bread. I know it's 5 o'clock. Go have a nice evening. Have a great
dinner
thought
with my
bubble.
family, so it's gonna be great.
And we will see you very soon, I'm sure.
Yes, don't you worry. I'll be around.
Okay. Bye. Friends, always love having Graeme here. He's just the very best. Again, as Popverse says, woo Graeme. And goodbye, Graeme. We're big Graeme fans here, and he can't stand it, and that delights me to no end. So, I just kind of mentioned this as we were sending Graeme away. And friends, I'm very sad to tell you that this here, our 37th episode, is going to be the final episode of Enter the Popverse, or at least the final episode of Enter the Popverse in this format, live for you on every single Friday, except the ones where we pre-record because I'm live at a convention on a Friday. What we're going to be doing instead is we're going to be making this type of content in shorter forms, littler videos, little teeny tiny little 5-minute videos, or whatever length they need to be, but shorter form videos here on the YouTube channel. So if you are one of our stalwarts, if you're one of our Jake Hefners and you're here every single Friday, please still continue to support and check out the Popverse YouTube channel, because we're going to be doing content like this, just in a slightly different format. I also want to personally thank everybody who has been here and supported the show, who let the show happen in the first place, and of course, especially Graeme, for being my victim here every single week and being just the best sport about it humanly possible. To everybody who's ever appeared on this show in some way, shape, or form, thank you very much for joining me. I've loved you very much and having you, and you've made this just a very, very special experience. So it's a little bit sad, but it's not as sad as it could possibly be. I never ever do this on our episodes of Enter the Popverse, so I thought as I was sending off this incarnation of the show and this version, I would just end by telling you what I am geeking out about that I'm not working on this week. And something that I've been really, really enjoying over the past year is starting a Bookstagram and getting just into the book side of Instagram and TikTok. It's one of the only things that I just create and produce only for myself. And I'm not trying to monetize like any of my other hobbies because I'm a millennial and I can't just enjoy things. And this year I've been doing a lot of great reading. So I just finished a couple weeks ago The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And that opened up reading the original I Love Dr. Moreau for me for the first time, because I don't read enough classics. So I have really, really been enjoying tropes on classic tropes of science fiction. And I want to highly recommend, if you've never checked out, we talked about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Graeme, any of those classic science fiction stories that are the building blocks of what we are enjoying right now in TV, movies, comics, podcasts, here on YouTube videos. I really encourage you to go and check out stuff like that. And I'll fight anyone who doesn't say that 18-year-old Mary Shelley is the creator of science fiction, because she is, and she deserves that credit. So for the final time, I want to let you know that I have been your video producer and host, Ashley Victoria Robinson, here in the Popverse. Every single story that we talked about is going to be down in the show notes of this video, but you can find everything, the full story, pictures, videos, articles, and so much more from Joe, from Graeme, from a bunch of other incredible creators over at thepopverse.com. While you're there, why not get yourself a Popverse membership so you never miss a single thing that we are creating there in the Popverse in every way, shape, and form. The next live show that Graeme is going to be at is Thought Bubble. The next live show that I am going to be at is going to be LA Comic-Con here in Los Angeles, California at the beginning of December. I hope I will see you there December 1st to 3rd in Los Angeles. I'm going to be on a panel, so please come and see me. And why don't, while you're here, because you're going to miss doing this with me every Friday, do what the banner says, like, subscribe, click that bell so you never miss a single thing that we're putting out here in the Popverse. All right, my friends, for the final time here on Into the Popverse, I have been Ashley Victoria Robinson, and I will see you next time.